Dear participants, we are delighted to welcome you to the fourth edition of our short-term course on legal aid and allied laws with special reference to RTI, PIL, ADR, consumer rights, and rights of victims. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Abhinandan Bassi as our distinguished speaker who will illuminate this crucial topic of rights of the vulnerable. Ma'am brings a wealth of expertise and experience, making her the most prominent figure in the field of law, especially in championing the rights of those who are often marginalized and vulnerable. Ma'am is an assistant professor of law and legal aid center convener, RGNUL Patiala, and her area of specialization include legal methods, intellectual property rights, major legal systems, alternative dispute resolution laws, and child rights and rights related to women. During her career, she has published more than 7 research papers and has a research experience of 8 years. Moreover, she had presented around 30 papers at seminars and conferences and has 8 years of teaching experience. Today, with the expertise of ma'am, we promise to shed light on the intricacies of vital aspects of the legal realm, offering participants a unique opportunity to expand their knowledge and contribute to a more just and inclusive legal framework. Ma'am, the virtual floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, dear, for this encouraging introduction that you've just passed on. I am honored to be here, and before I start, I would like to congratulate the organizers, specifically Pro Bono and the Estate University members, for taking out time to create this initiative. It is going to be helpful. I'm sure that the reviews must have been amazing so far. Because
Ma'am,
if
you
you
are.
I think because they changed the rights child, so it got automatically muted. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're perfectly audible.
Perfect, perfect, great. If I look at the lineup of the if I look at the lineup of the topics which have been discussed so far and which are going to be discussed towards the till the end of this module of education that is being discussed, or the module which is being drafted, it is an amazing way to learn and to gather knowledge about so many varied topics. And one of the topics which is like very close to my heart, that we'll be discussing today, is the right of the vulnerable people. And it's been a journey of more than a decade being associated with Legal Aid Clinic, and it has given me an opportunity to witness a lot of um, details and a lot of rights wherever people are concerned, wherever our systems are concerned, wherever the workability of our projects are concerned. So I'll try and summarize whatever I've learned so far as a member of Legal Aid Clinic, and I hope that towards the end we can have a bird's eye view of what are vulnerable people, who are vulnerable people, and what are what are the different categories of laws which might get concerned with them, and more importantly, where is the research gap, or where is the gap which needs to be addressed wherever the vulnerable group is concerned, wherever these people are concerned. So I will begin with the definition, or a very simple statement wherever vulnerability as a concept is concerned. When we talk about vulnerability, or when we talk about being vulnerable, it means being prone to hurt. Nothing can be more specific, nothing can be more forthcoming than this definition, which allows us to understand that a group which is more which is accessible towards her. And consequently, a group which is which is more prone towards hurt or harm, it is referred to as the vulnerable group. We have different categories of people who are more prone to being vulnerable, or
मैडम
who are being more
हेलो
prone to harm.
मैडम, सॉरी फॉर इंटरप्शन, आप क्या करिए,
So,
वीडियो बंद कर दीजिए, मैं भी कर देता हूँ, मे बी आई थिंक नेटवर्क विल बी हेल्पिंग। ओवर टू यू प्लीज।
sir,
थोड़ा।
is the voice breaking?
हाँ हाँ हाँ, तो मैं वीडियो बंद कर देता हूँ, आप भी बंद कर दीजिए,
Sir,
मैं भी थोड़ा।
sir, do you want me to switch off the camera? Should
हाँ
I
हाँ
try that also?
हाँ हाँ, मैं भी
All
बंद
right.
कर देता हूँ, इट विल हेल्प यू। ओके,
Uh,
ओवर टू।
sir, I hope it gets better, sir. The voice quality. Um, the idea when we talk about the vulnerable groups is that there are different categories, because even though we have a very stringent and a very strict legal system in place, it's been more than 70 years since we have the advantage of having a very stable constitution which governs our country, which is put into practice. It is this gap or between the theory and the practice which promotes and which brings this, people for whom the actual motive does not get does not get fulfilled. The idea is lost. Then when and it is this gap between the ideal practice that creates uh, discontent or discriminated we have. Sir, is the voice any better now?
Ma'am,
Hello.
it's not. Sometimes it's breaking.
ब्रेक हो रहा है, ब्रेक हो रहा है।
Sometimes it's
Ma'am, it's still breaking.
break हो रहा है. Give me. I'm really sorry. I apologize, sir. I'll be muting myself. Please give me a minute to
या श्योर श्योर।
reconnect to my system, please.
या
Please.
ओके, या श्योर।
Sir, I've tried to reconnect, sir. I hope it will be a little bit better.
Yes, ma'am. Now it is
यस
better, ma'am.
प्लीज, या।
Thank you. Thank you. So when we talk about these vulnerable groups, or when we talk about the first instance which covers, or which is the group which has to be really taken care of, is the children, or the area where children are concerned. Even though before we start, like, if you allow, even though we have the right of dignity, even we have the constitution which talks about a plethora of rights, including of every opportunity for growth, Article 21, and we have the
Ma'am, the voice
Human
is
Rights
breaking,
Declaration.
ma'am. Ma'am, ma'am, am I audible to you, ma'am? Then- Ma'am, the voice is breaking.
So I'll try and reconnect again, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, is it any better?
Ma'am, it is better, but if it ever goes, I will just notify you. Is it fine?
Please do, please do.
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
tried to. Hanji, Hanji. I apologize. I'm not sure uh, what is not working right here.
Ma'am,
So
no
when we
issue.
talk about Hanji, so when we talk about the age group of children which are involved, uh, we have special rights for the safeguard or special rights of the state, wherever the rights of the children are maintained, they have to be maintained by the state or they have to be taken care by the state. But at the same time, we cannot ignore the fact that there are offenses which are hampering the economical, physical, mental growth of the children. And these offenses not only get restricted to the heinous crimes or the sexual crimes which are committed against children, it is prevalent in form of female feticide. I've just received a request to summarize from the beginning itself. So I'll start from the beginning, that when we talk about the idea of vulnerability, vulnerability comes into picture from the definition, where it says that vulnerability means, or it indicates the group of people or society, group of within the society that is existing, which is more prone to get hurt or which are more prone to be harmed. In in a different connotation, if we look at the um, the simpler format of the the same definition, it talks about, or it refers to the fact that within the society that we are existing, there is a group of people which is more prone to harm or being harmed. It is not that these there has to be a constructive effort in creating harm against them. Normal withdrawal of any duty or right which accrues towards these people can create vulnerability. So when you talk about vulnerable groups, we have the Human Rights Act 1993. We have the idea of United Nations Declaration of 1948. We have our Constitution of India, which talks about Article 14, which talks about Article 15, 21. For that matter, it outlines the idea of directive principles. It talks about fundamental duties. So when you look at the hierarchy of law, the hierarchy of law exists perfectly well. But when you look at this hierarchy, within this hierarchy, there is a gap which talks about the idea, or which talks about uh, the disability of law to fill up the loopholes. So, ideally speaking, nobody can deny that when you come down, from a degree program and you go out to practice within this world, because we have people from all walks of life attending this course. We see there is a difference between theory and practical, and this same difference exists wherever the law or the applicability of law also is concerned. So you have these books which enshrine that there is going to be Human Rights Act, which was passed in 1993. We talk about these fundamental rights. Yes. But when you look at the applicability within these fundamental rights, there is an unsaid discrimination which happens when these fundamental rights become inaccessible or inoperable for many of the people. And when you talk about these categories, children take the topmost shelf, followed by women. We have people who belong to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes who face this vulnerability. We have people who are displaced from their places. We have people who are referred to as migratory labor. We have people who are referred to as refugees. We have people with disabilities. We have people who belong to the community of transgenders or LGBTQ plus community. There are so many communities, or there are so many sects within our society which face this discrimination. And like I said, that it is not inherent that we create a discriminatory environment for them. The mere withdrawal of a service or the difficulty in getting that service creates that vulnerability. Because If you look at this example, if you wake up in the morning and till the late evening, you might be following any pattern of life. You might be a student, you might be a teacher, you might be a practicing advocate, you might be, um, a sports person. I wish you to all take a moment and understand uh, that during the normal routine, if something goes out of the league, for example, you have an important meeting lined up and you end up facing a flat tire of your vehicle. There is an important meeting lined up, there's an interview lined up, and uh, you have 21 floors to climb, and the lift of that building is not working. You reach that interview, that place of interview. At that place of interview, you are told that because you belong to a certain criteria of height or of color or of gender, you become ineligible for this particular post. Even though your merit might be higher than what is required for that post to be filled up, you have 2100 or you have 2000 kilometers to travel as somebody who's traveling from one destination to the other, and there is no provision for you to have um, you know clean drinking water, because the place where the water is available, you are restricted from going there and drinking that water. Many of these things might sound absurd to us, but this is where the actual practice of law, existing in matters of equity, existing in matters of equitable approach, existing in matter of equal opportunity, lying in our statutes, enshrined in our constitution, underlined in majority of the judgments, lacks the practical applicability of reaching out to every nook and corner of this country. So if we start with the basic, a differentiation or the basic vulnerability that is faced, the first criteria, sorry, the first, not even the criteria, or the first parameter of safety and feeling safe is grossly missing for majority of the children which live in our country. Since 2018, there's a steady rise in offenses which are sexual in nature against our children. We, till date, even though have laws, have not completely eradicated female feticide. We still have, unauthorized tests which determine the sex of the unborn child. We have grossly missing the area where the education can be made free for majority of our children. There are so many laws which are required for the safe upbringing of our children, because when you look at the future of any country, this is where the core lies. So when the future generation is going to be mentally unstable because of a threat or fear or lack of nutrition, it is going to be very difficult for any country to sustain its own self. So when you look at children, there are a number of problems which exist and which make them susceptible to danger. So starting from there, because when you look at international organizations like UNICEF, we look at International Labour Organization or ILO as it is popularly known as, they they fear the growth of the children because of the labor becoming compulsory for them to undertake. So when you look at labor or when you look at these stigmas which get associated with being poor, we see that the children are subjected not only to these um, these hazardous occupations. So even though ILO talks about the age being 18, in India, for us, the Labor Act or the labor laws say that from the children above the age of 14 can participate in different occupations. These occupations, they get become more what do you say, exploitative in nature, because in the name of family support, in the name of family business, in the name of family occupation. So the children enrolled in agricultural fields, the children enrolled in your what do you say, uh, household work, the children which are overworked and which are overburdened because of the issues of earning money for their bread and butter, for their own selves or their families or their brothers and sisters. These such occupations, they are away from, even though we have a fine of 20,000 rupees in case an underage child is working at any premises, any dhaba, any eatery, any workshop, any industrial premises. Yet, each and every one of them is being taught that your age is, in case you will ask them, they'll tell you that they all of them are above 14 years of age. And if you'll take them for a medical examination, there is a chance that the panel in the your chief surgeon's office would also give them a tentative age, keeping in mind the level of nutrition that they have, that there is a probability that they might be aged more than what is being depicted in the report. And majority of the times, the family occupation or the family work creates a lacuna where the actual person who's employing them gets gets hooked off from the grip of the police, keeping such things, or taking the shelter of such occupations in the name of family necessity, poverty, or for that matter, you know what do you say, they if, specifically for states like Punjab, where we have this tradition of the helpers of agricultural work being sticking to a family for generations altogether. It is a camouflaged way of bonded labor, that the children of these laborers or the children of these peasants also become obligated to work for the families for generations, and for years altogether, because of one or the other monetary loan that they might have taken, or even if the education for these children are being sponsored by the families or the landlords or the zamindars. We see that they get imbibed within the same system as well. So when you look at children being part or being associated as vulnerable group, it is not only the lack of education, the lack of nutritional food, the lack of residence, the lack of security. There are so many inbuilt systems within our culture where you see patriarchy taking a flow, or patriarchy taking a toll on the girl child, wherever the concepts like female feticides are concerned, or infanticide is concerned, wherever later towards the part of their life where their education is withheld, because statistically speaking, during COVID also, majority of the girls children, as compared to their male counterparts, or the male siblings, were told to withdraw from the schools wherever there was a consequence, or wherever there was a lack of money for the school fee was involved. So we see that this group, and if we look at the more heinous component of crime, of sexual offenses, wherever they become the target, or wherever they become the culprit. So you have juvenile crimes being undertaken. We have the sexual offenses being taken up as a component which creates vulnerability within this group. We have child trafficking, we have beggary, we have the kidnapping of these children. So even though you have provisions in IPC, you have provisions in the Constitution, time and again, we'll come back to these provisions. We'll talk about acts like Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act. We'll talk about Traffic Prevention Act of 1956. We talk about Child Marriage Restraint Act being in place. But then the statistics speak differently from all these acts and from all these outlined legal provisions, where we see that the basic human right of education, health, clean food and water, sanitation being withdrawn from majority of the children in our country. If we take a step forward and move towards women as another vulnerable group, uh, I'll outline, Article 15, I'll outline out Article 16, and other majority of the articles which talk about the safety of women, the criteria of creating special and reasonable provisions for them, that they do not need to be differentiated or looked down upon because of their gender or the strength that they have. We still need provisions like prevention of dowry. We still need provisions and acts like prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. We still need provisions of domestic violence, even though domestic violence as an act talks about different types of abuse which occurs against women, emotional, physical, sexual, mental, and economical. Any form of abuse which happens against women, still these would constitute as a vulnerable group without any second thoughts, because it is not that they are weaker in terms of any power or strength that they carry, but starting from the day they are born, to the restrictive moral stereotypes which they get entangled in, women would always be considered as a vulnerable group till the time the gender formulation is going to be based upon the biological sex of a person, of an individual within the society. So we have again, when you talk about the United Nations Human Rights Declaration of 1948, it outlines the basic human rights where dignity takes the first or the initial importance, but followed by simple practices of option, participation, representation, which in our country is still grossly missing for women. So, be it the political participation, be it the economical participation, and most importantly, be it the representation of self decisions. The gender is still date even if we're talking about the 21st century, or where every occupation is open, we still had to take the route through the honorable apex court for women to become part of the military services. And if you will look at the gender divide, it is not decreasing, even though we have significant presence of women in all the fields of or all the occupations. We still face a plethora of discriminatory practices as option wherever employment is concerned. Uh, we are still fighting for the basic rights of healthcare, of nutrition, and basic necessities like menstrual leaves, wherever the rights of women are concerned, because they all get covered within the bigger criteria of right to life under Article 21, the right of occupation, the right of education, the right of the the safety. So we do not have to look at the crime against women. I am not going to go into the social or moral obligations of being criticized as a gender, wherever they we have the the laws which are concerned or the applicability of law is concerned. I would stick to the basic facts which cannot be denied, that we still live in a country where our honorable courts talk about the idea or the criteria of the victim of rape tying Rakhi to the accused. It talks about the idea or the judgments where the accused is told to marry the rape victim. We still talk about this within the component of our society, where we see a significant participation from this lesser known gender within our society. So when we talk about the idea of women, even though we have equality before law, still wherever the practice of law becomes applicable, this group or this gender specifically will always be considered as more vulnerable because of the different pressures which get accrued against them. When we look at the third group of within the categories of vulnerability of our society, we cannot deny the vulnerability which is being faced by the scheduled tribes and scheduled caste persons. We have an act which supports their dignity, we have an act which supports their freedom, but the atrocities, the specification of occupation being reserved for certain categories cannot be denied. More than 8 million people within this country belong to the SC and ST reserved categories. We still, but it is that 64% to 68% of them are still struggling for the basic necessities of household, occupation, and food. So when we have or when we talk about the creamy layer or the representation of this creamy layer, we we when we talk about the atrocities being faced by them, these the data talks the data cannot be denied, or the data cannot be ignored, where the atrocities upon them which are committed are more than the opportunity as a community. So a significant population which is when you talk about numbers for more than 8 million people when belong to one particular category, then their role or their idea being unsupportive is what is being their discrimination which is being faced by them is again which makes them vulnerable, or which makes them susceptible to discrimination. The other group which talks about, even though human rights again are enshrined for the SC and ST reserved categories, we still and we have the fundamental right which talks about untouchability being abolished. The atrocities prohibit, or the atrocities talk about the fact that their economical boycott cannot take place. They cannot be refused anything on terms or anything which is commonly which can be out of ordinary course. They cannot be compelled to do anything which an ordinary person of prudence cannot be asked to do. Their special rights of specifically in case of tribes, their special rights or the forest rights, they exist. We prohibit, or we've just come across an incident where a university has been it has been alleged against them that manual scavenging still takes place. We had we still have even though it is prohibited under the act, we still have manual scavenging going on. We talk about them being socially boycotted. We cannot ignore the fact that their emotional, physical, mental, or their a need of dignity or existence is grossly ignored wherever the social acceptance is concerned. And you we every single withdrawal of any service or any opportunity can create severe injury to their not only to their mental health but also to their um, what do you say, their dignity. It can create insult, it can create injury um, to their well-being. And when you talk about the specifically the tribes, the opportunity for representation in education definitely is there. But there, when you talk about the majority of the institutions, they still have their rosters, which are like compiling from years and years on, and their vacancies do not get filled up. And even if they get filled up, we still do not demarcate between, even though we have the judgments regarding it, we still do not demarcate between the creamy layer. So false, malicious, suits get accrued against them. They get sidelined or they get objectified because of the category, or because of the area of residence that they come from, or the the place where they reside. So when you talk about these special provisions which are created, um, we see that within the circle or within the areas of our community, we have segregated their areas of residence, we've segregated their areas of existence, we've segregated and demarcated, our history even though speaks about it. And we take pride in the fact that we've come a long way. But many a times we've witnessed, because I can't say that I can talk about or I can watch about the whole of the country, but when I go into our villages, my city in itself, even though we talk about, um, that the demarcations or the boundaries do not exist, but we've witnessed that there are specific roles, there are specific duties which are designated for people of reserve, which are designated for for people who belong to the reserved categories. We see educational institutes, demarcating specific roles, or denying facilities to them. We've witnessed that even the highest education, sorry, the highest institutes of education of eminence within this country, we faced student suicides because of lack of research, lack of resources, lack of funding. We've seen them suffer. So even though I'll come back to where we started, that even though we have the acts, we have demarcated again specific rules for them, the practice where the community gets absorbed equally with dignity within the society is still a far-fetched dream for majority of the people who are surviving this discrimination every single day. If we move forward and talk about another group, it is that 15%, WHO says that 15% of the population of the world belongs to this category. And within our country as well, we see that more than 6% of the population belongs to the people, or the persons with disability. We still lack a cohesive and a coherent system where we acknowledge them as a community with respect. The vulnerability can be judged from this particular account or this particular instance, that till date, we have the Persons with Disability Act being incorporated in 2016. The rules came out in 2020. We see that there are a lot of amendments which take place. The sad part is that till date, we do not have one comprehensive term to refer uh, these or persons with disability with. How disturbing or how um wrong can one feel if not if not through this, that they are called specially abled, they are called people with disabilities, they are called referred to as viklang, they are referred to as persons with disability. We uh, we th- we we still use terms like handicapped. We still use terms like these to refer to people or persons with disability. We have the act which talks about an equal opportunity in place of existence wherever they are. The act talks about the role and responsibility under Article 38 and 39, where the state has to make sure that these people get equal representation, they get equal opportunity for participation in every sphere of their life. So be it sports, be it education, be it occupation, or be it the opportunity to work, they have to be given an equal opportunity. They have to be given equal stance. They have to be given equal respect and equal dignity wherever the opportunity is concerned. But when you talk about persons with disability, I would like to request all of you to take a moment and think that where across the market spaces that you walk through, where in the office buildings, where specifically in the public buildings, because this is the sad part, that the act is applicable to public buildings. When you talk about the Persons with Disability Act of 2016, the specifications of transport, the specifications of the what do you say, ease to walk, the other public buildings and private buildings take a walk out of this particular bracket, or they take a walk out of this particular connotation in the name of non-applicability of bylaws on them. Because majority of the states or majority of the districts where the deputy commissioner is entitled to create special provisions in the private buildings as well, uh, they have not incorporated the changes within the rules. They have not incorporated the changes within the sphere. So you see that I'll come back to the same request, that if you look around, how many spaces have you seen where the public toilets are available for persons with disability? How many doors of our buildings are accessible for the wheelchairs to walk in? How many buildings have you come across where specifically the government buildings, the government hospitals, the clinics around us, these little these mahalla clinics or the government clinics around us, how many of them do you see are accessible with tactile plates for people who are blind to walk through? I would request all of you to think, because it's very convenient for me to lay out that, the law talks about reservation of seats in educational institutes. Um, we have the act talking about the specifications. We have the act talking about every single thing. But what I would request you to look around. I would request you, because uh, it might be difficult for you to safeguard a bonded labor and go to the agricultural fields. It looks like it looks like a distant dream for us to leave our daily life and walk out and take a step out of our comfort zone. But I would request you that please look around. See how many buildings do have ramps for people to walk to different places. How many of our buildings, private and public both, educational, recreational, occupational, look and tell me, and please just think, How many of these buildings are actually accessible? How many of these places, specifically the hospitals or the transport areas, how many of them are accessible for people who walk on crutches? How many of them are accessible for people who are bound by with wheelchairs? How many of them are it was such a sad situation that within our legal aid we came across a request um, for a 3-year-old girl child uh, whose leg had to be whose hip bone had to be grafted because of bone cancer. And we consulted more than 28 major companies across India where we requested the company to give us what is how do I say it, a cast, a leg cast for that girl, so that her bone is strapped straight within that leg. uh, these were available for the adults. There was no belt available for this child. It is tenor who came forward after a gap of 21, 22 days, constant calls to the manager. It is only that through our good luck, we came across the owner of the company who agreed to create R&D for specifically for this, because majority of the uh, the 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 leg casts which are available, they do not allow the kneecap to bend. So for a child it would mean loss of opportunity to participate in sports, or the loss of opportunity of the basic thing, or a basic what do you say, practice of climbing stairs. So it is this difficult for us to survive within this country and talk about opportunities for people with disabilities. So when you talk when I talk about these opportunities, I would request every single one. It is not important if you belong to a legal aid clinic. It is not important if you are doing paralegal work. It is not important, that you are part of any organization or not. I would request you that in the capacity of an individual, look up, look around, see what small changes can be introduced for buildings. We've requested, we talk about inclusivity. We are creating, we are, as legal aid clinic, we are taking awareness camps for the idea of inclusivity, to this inclusivity to take a step further, from gender sensitization or gender inclusivity. We talk about every single type of your physical disability, mental disability, because in India we do not address mental disabilities, and it is a silent disease. We do not talk about disabilities which occur to us, which are contingent upon the act of God. We do not talk about people, or the rehabilitation of people who become dependent on one or the other form of help, because of any accident, because of any loss of limb, because of any loss of body part, because of health issues or accidents, or um, lack of medical support. We do not discuss logistic support being missing for them. We do not talk about economical support being missing for them. So I would request you that in capacity of individuals, as an individual, please think, because small little changes of a wooden shaft can create a ramp for the wheelchair to go across the area which is prone to public footfall. The space bars, in case we can cover them, so that for people who are on wheelchairs, the tires do not get stuck within those spaces. For people who are walking on crutches, their crutches do not get stuck in those spaces. For people who are walking, who are using the help, or you're taking the help of a walking stick, for people who are partially or fully blind, their sticks do not get stuck in those spaces, which can cause further injury to them. So small little changes, go beyond your comfort zone to see. talk about or create applications where public toilets are created, wherever public toilets are created for people who are short heighted, who we refer as dwarfs. We do not have facilities specifically for them where drinking water can be made accessible to them in public spaces. We do not talk about the area or institutions where dyslexia is being addressed, specifically educational institutes. We do not talk about dyslexia being addressed. So we do not need to create magnanimous changes. L- your clinics are fully equipped, you as individual are fully equipped to create these small little changes. So ideally speaking, when you look at different categories of vulnerable people who are around us, we do not stress upon the fact that um, look at the opportunities to create magnanimous or huge events. We really do not advocate that. What we advocate as legal aid practitioners or legal aid followers or legal aid para volunteers, we request you to take small little initiatives. Maybe one comprehensive letter to the deputy commissioner of your comprehensive application made to the municipal corporation of your area, one petition which is filed on behalf of any vulnerable individual, that any incidents that can create a difference. You have no idea that how powerful one little thought of yours can be, how powerful your little action can be in changing the course of life, or the course of acceptance or inclusivity for these people. Two other groups that, because we just have like 7 minutes in hand with me, I would request you that there are two other groups which I would also talk about to, and I would request your kind consideration for these two groups as well. One is the elderly or the senior citizens in India, and second is the LGBTQ or the transgenders community that we have with us. 3% of the population of the world belongs to the LGBTQ plus community, and we still use derogatory terms to address this community. We do not talk about uh, their inclusion. We do not talk about their basic necessities, because if you look at it, even though we have the Transgenders Act, because in 2014 we acknowledged that there is a third community, or there is a third gender, not third community, my apologies, there's a third gender which exists other than male and female. So we are still fighting. We are still looking at, we are running surveys through our legal aid clinics. We have a center for constitutional law, which is also running a program, a project to see that what is the level of applicability of the Transgenders Act 2019. And now this matter is again sub judice, because even though we have an act, we do not register the formal lack of opportunity for this community. So the basic right of health, the basic right of blood transfusion, the basic right of individuality that you want to get associated with, even though the act allows you to get identified as the gender, or as the binary or non-binary a person that you wish to be, we still do not acknowledge them. It's not about the stereotypes that the society wants to create for them, or it is not about the jokes or the memes that the society wants to create for them. We still It is not even a week has passed that this 16-year-old boy from MP had committed suicide because on a transitional video that he had posted on Instagram, he received more than 4,000 hate comments, and he committed suicide because he thought that he's not getting accepted the way he is, and somehow he's brought disgrace to his family, and his locality, and his friends must be ashamed of him, that what sort of person is he or she or they are trying to be. So it is getting so difficult for us to accept the pronouns that this community wants to adapt to. We get offended if somebody mistakes us for a miss or a Mrs. or a Mr. um, how can we ignore the identity that somebody wants to be acknowledged by? How can we discourage the individuality of a person? We talk about giving free and fair opportunities to every single citizen of India, but at the same time we are withdrawing their right to be addressed with dignity. So we have an act which talks about uh, you know um, the different components of individuality or fluidity that the person can adapt to, but at the same time we do not have gender neutral washrooms, we do not have gender neutral hospital rooms, we do not have gender neutral changing rooms, we do not have gender neutral public spaces. We have smoking non-smoking areas. This is the type of world that we live in. We have smoking, non-smoking areas. We have smoking tables in restaurants. We have non-smoking tables in restaurants, but we do not have the areas where you know where we can have gender neutral changing rooms. We do not have. We do not. Our jail systems are not equipped with barricades. We are not equipped with the awareness campaigns that we can run. Majority of the transgenders, they hesitated in getting COVID vaccinations. Special camps had to be organized for them. Because we do not make sure that right type of awareness regarding the schemes, regarding the economical help, regarding the opportunities that exist for our LGBTQ plus community people. We do not take measures in creating the right amount of awareness that is required for the word to go across. We are still living in a world where words like humiliation, words like harassment, words like rape, words like pain, words like bullying, words like harassment are not gender neutral, they are gender specific. So if you are a male or any other if you are even if you are a female who gets who identifies as any other gender for that matter, we do not have restrictive spheres where we can target the culprits who commit crime against you. If you are a male, um, the concepts of rape do not exist. The concept of it will only exist if you are below 18, as if your biological sex is male. So we still have the spheres where we have curtailed the amount of freedom that is being accorded to people who want to believe in. So there is I'm not going to go into the debate that what sort of opportunities should arise, should exist for them. Do they need to be recognized? Do not need to be recognized? At this particular moment, the legal system of this country talks about an equal opportunity to be given, to be offered, to be practiced for every single person who may associate with one or the other or the third gender. So till the time the legal system is clear about such demarcations, the conflict of being unhappy with the grammar that they practice, with the clothing that they practice. So right of adoption, right of residence, right of participation should and is till the time the same gender marriages or same sex marriages do not get notified in the statutes, we need to have a vocal representation at least for these changes to be brought in, for everyone to feel equally appreciated, equally valued, and equally accepted within our society. And last but not the least, the senior most members of our families, after the age of 60, they are referred to as the senior citizens, and they are also treated as senior citizens, which means that they are now going to be considered, or they are considered as non-reproductive, non-employed, non-earning members of the family who do not contribute in any other manner except being the security guards of the house. So their right of health, their right of gratuity, their right of pensions, their right of even though we have plethora of schemes like Atal Yojana and other facilities, the healthcare facilities specifically dedicated to senior citizens is grossly missing. The the residence facility in terms of senior citizen residences, in case of senior citizen treatment homes, in case of elderly what do you say, specially trained healthcare staff, especially trained paramedic staff, we do not have the required amount of support that our elderly need. So, in case if I summarize, we've discussed so far for the idea of the vulnerable groups being children, being women, being people who belong to the reserved categories, people who belong to the LGBTQ plus community, people who get inflicted or are born with one or the other form of disabilities, or are elderly people. So there is within this society which is strong, which is equipped, which is healthy, which is vibrant. There exists the components of vulnerability which are susceptible to disorientation, which are susceptible to harm very, very, very easily. So I've just tried to make an humble attempt in creating, a dialogue related to these different vulnerable groups. Kalpesha, it's 8 o'clock, so uh, if it's all right if I open the house for any questions, if in case anybody has.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Pooja Lakshmi, over to you. There are some questions. Participant, you can put the question in the chat box or you can raise your hand. Yes. Pooja Lakshmi, please read out some questions are
Yes,
there.
sir.
Over to you.
The first question is, ma'am, can you share your experience of legal aid clinic for vulnerable?
Thank you so much. This is a very interesting question, because if you allow us to talk about our experiences, there is a lot of struggle which is involved. So we are struggling specifically in not only in terms of creating special avenues or for children and women. We are we have started creating specific efforts for inclusivity of persons with disability. So we started taking surveys of the buildings which are within our city and in the neighboring districts, so that we can create. We've started recommending to the concerned authorities, and we started with each one. Each one building becoming equipped with at least one of the facilities for persons with disability. So, for example, in the hospitals which are within the district of Patiala, we are following up. Like, two hospitals have started create. They've started with the special provisions for water being made accessible for people who are with disabilities. It was not available because these water taps, many a times they were out of reach. And if you would, visualize, because I'm sorry, I should have, like, brought pictures and all. These taps, they have a little extended area in front of them. So, like a little shelf, which even if it's like a place where six or seven taps are there together, so you'll have little space, for the dispense of water or things. So it would make it inaccessible for people who were on wheelchair, for people who were short-heighted, or any other disformity, which will make them, which will not enable them to reach the height of the tap. So two hospitals have already incorporated the changes, and the water filter has been lowered. The height of the water filter has been lowered, and it is made to 4 feet now. And within those areas, we made sure that there's a little shelf which is put up so that for people who are short-sighted, they can reach out to the tap easily. So when we talk about our legal aids experience, there's a lot, because see, the main effort from our side goes in convincing people, because it's difficult for specifically when I look at Patiala. Patiala has a lot of heritage buildings. So, we had a lot of palaces which have been converted into office buildings. So we have they do not, they have huge floors. They do not have ramps. Even the staircases that they are old traditional staircases. So there's a lot of width which is involved. So for us, the main fight was to convince people. सो हमारे पास लेटर वर्क बहुत होता था, सो वी हैव टू रन फ्रॉम पिलर टू पोस्ट. अभी भी बहुत काम, मतलब वी इट इज अंडर वे. And abhi, because हम लोगों को थोड़ा we irritated and we tensed also, because the municipal corporation elections are due within a month and a half in Punjab. So we'll have to go through that procedure at many places all over again. But our letters are ready, so we've not put a date on it, but our letters are ready for to be, for different officers to be approached, because hospitals we've covered, and we are very very grateful to majority of the authorities who are complying with our requests. बट जो हमारा आर्काइव्स का ऑफिस है जैसे पंजाब में जो पटियाला का है, फिर हमारे जो यहाँ पे सिनेमा हॉल्स हैं, वहाँ पे रैंप नहीं है, लिफ्ट नहीं है. सो फॉर पीपल टू ट्रैवल, एंड लिफ्ट का खर्चा बहुत होता है. सो वी आर ट्राइंग टू लुक फॉर ऑल्टरनेटिव्स. सो वी कंसल्ट आर्किटेक्ट्स, वी कंसल्ट पीपल हु कैन हेल्प अस. सो हमारा लाइजनिंग का काम नॉट ओनली गोज इन टू द एरिया ऑफ क्रिएटिंग एप्लीकेशंस एंड following them up. We are trying to create licensing between different people who are ready to help. So we started approaching retired architects and PWD people for to help us. So matlab, this is how we are trying to create a thoda sa awareness in case of inclusivity of persons with disability.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. The next question is about the effectiveness of Senior Citizens Act and what is the experience of dealing with the senior citizen cases, especially with regards to this act, ma'am?
Uh, the it is again, the experience is not too fond, or a happy experience, because we are associated with an old age home which is within the vicinity of which is closer to the vicinity of our university itself. So our legal aid goes out again in two different directions. One, in fighting the cases for people who have been evacuated from their homes, and second, in creating CSR for the people who are dependent on any NGOs or any homes, because we do not have specific homes for our elderly. We do not have. So again, we hold small little camps for the senior citizens. So there are three different clubs in Patiala, where is one which is which is a ladies club, and there are like for senior citizen ladies, and there are two other clubs. One is a community center, the other is a club for, again, for senior citizens. So we make visits there, and anybody who has a administrative matter pending, who has a gratuity ka application pending, who's not received his pension or her pension, even after months have passed after their retirement. So we do the paperwork, we do follow up for their paperwork, we do little things for them in case they need to consult. So there's a team of volunteers who would visit these community halls and the senior citizen club, and we talk about renewal of their PAN cards. We talk about renew sorry, not PAN cards, sorry, your debit cards. We fill up forms for their checkbooks. So little help that we can do to make them a little comfortable in things that they consider to be a part of their daily routine. So one is that. Second is that for specifically for people who are the inhabitants of the the old age home, it is run by Helpage India. and it is they are the ones who are the basic caregivers to them. So many a times they refuse to file cases against the children कि हमें नहीं करना है. तो then we try and approach the children for the basic needs. They do not come for visit, but at least we've forced we've a few of them to at least pay for the medicine and for the medical treatment. Currently, you would also be disheartened to know that there is an old lady who's 86 years old. She has 11 children, and none of them is there to take care of her, and she's bedridden. So we had to force her daughters and her sons, two of them who reside in Canada, to pay for the water bed that we wanted for her, because otherwise, she was facing the problem of bed sores. So this is how we try and take care of the requirements of the elderly through the legal aid beta.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So, since there is one more question in the chat box, what are vulnerable parts of society? I would also like to club with one of the messages I got regarding the same. So, what are the vulnerable parts of society, and what suggestions do you have for students interested in undertaking impactful work on the rights of vulnerable populations in these areas?
Thank you so much for this question. Means I was praying that somebody would ask it, because Pooja, what you know again, this is what I would reiterate what I requested in during the lecture itself, that we are not looking for the considerable or huge changes. First of all, within the local area where you reside, within the local area, pick up the most vulnerable group. Is it the small children who are begging? Is it do you see homeless people around you? Do you see a community of or a slum getting built up within the area there where you live or nearby, where the refugees are they've started coming, and where they're living? So, or is it that there is a building which you visit regularly, be it a shopping mall, or be it a hospital or a clinic which is near you, be it a cinema hall, or be it a general market space, where within that community or within the area, because if you live in a colony, is there any space demarcated for the vehicles of the disabled people or persons with disability to be parked? Do we have the parks, are they accessible for them? Do you think that in case a blind person or a partially blind person crosses that path, would they hurt themselves? So we I would request you to observe first, as a young individual, as an individual who's ready to help. I would request you to come forward and observe these small little changes that can be incorporated. And in case you are a part of a legal aid clinic, do not hesitate to write, do not hesitate to approach the authorities. In case you are an individual and you think that your voice is not going to get heard, locate the nearest possible legal aid clinic, be it in the court premises of the district association, or be it the any high court that you live nearby, or of that area, or in case there is no law school which is nearby, uh, consult an NGO. Matlab, raise your voice. Means, in case I can talk to you in the language of the youngsters, hashtag raise your voice. This should be picked up. You have to raise your voice, and by no means am I requesting you to fight with people, and by no means am I requesting you. It can be a simple act of giving space uh, for people, because now they have the stance of being considered as a person. Somebody might come down to your area to feed the stray dogs or the stray animal. So try and create a safe space where these animals can be fed, or if somebody is trying to hit them, is if the cruelty is being inflicted against any vulnerable group. um Observe and pick up the notes from where you can help those. So your concern can be a life full of opportunity for somebody else. I hope I've tried to answer the query.
Yes, ma'am. So shall we take the last question of the day? Ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Please, please.
Yes, ma'am. So the question is, how can we enhance inclusivity for women and individuals with physical and or mental disability within the legal system?
Within the legal system, first let's start having more number of female judges, because it is getting we are becoming a rare breed, wherever uh, you know um, what do you say, wherever the idea or wherever the concerned representation is in question. First of all, if you are looking at the legal area, and women participation, it's not about reservation of seats for women. It's about recognition of this profession being full of equal opportunities for all. So, the stereotypes of women who are lawyers to be sharp-minded or sharp-tongued, or, these stereotypes, they have to go. And I would request that, when you talk about law, or when you talk about this profession, consider this profession to address, you know, the law and not the gender. And when you talk about specifically for persons with disability, let's start having more accessible courtrooms. Let's start having more accessible police stations, and let's start having, less mental stigmas associated with people with disabilities being lesser in mind, scope, and talent. So we have to, wherever women are concerned, or wherever the other vulnerability of groups is concerned, we have to, the idea is that the merit has to be considered, not the gender or the disability, or for that matter the category as well. कहते कि ये reserved category है, तो इनका ऐसा नहीं, इनका ऐसा नहीं. These have to go. When you start talking about merit, when you start talking about professions, when you start talking about you know excuse me, the idea of being respectful towards the person in general, believe me, less vulnerability will be a part of the dialogue. And it's going to be more, what do you say, comprehensive. The dialogue is going to be more comprehensive.
Ma'am. Understood. So with this, we wind up our session. I hope there are no queries, as all of the queries are covered, and it was really an enriching session with no queries left in mind only. Thank you for your time, ma'am. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Shweta Mohan for the vote of thanks. Ma'am, over to you.
Okay. Very good evening to one and all. A heartfelt thank to Dr. Bassi ma'am for being with us today. It was, ma'am, our privilege for having you with us as a speaker and shedding light on such an important topic. Ma'am, it's necessary for us to understand that the problem that problem are faced by the vulnerable section of the society. We as an individual create an inclusive society for them in whichever way possible. Your lecture indeed was very informative as well as very approachable towards the people who are really concerned about legal aid, whether it is through the path of legal aid or raising our voice against discrimination. Our little efforts will always, ma'am, and surely go a long way. So thank you once again, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time with us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shweta, for being so kind with your words. Thank you so
And
much. And my heartfelt
Thank you very much,
gratitude
ma'am. Thank you.
to Professor Kalpesh for inviting me and for making me a part of this. And a special warm
Thank you very
thanks to
much.
Pooja. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, ma'am. We
Thank you.
enjoyed our session, ma'am.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Shreya, Pooja Lakshmi, and Shreya, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank you.